It takes a lifetime to learn how to love and be loved. Even though giving and getting love is as natural as breathing to us when we're born, by the time we're adults, we'll just say it gets complicated. So I want to share 5 essential ingredients of love with you this morning to support you on your journeys to loving and being loved. And let me be clear right from the start. I'm not talking about a journey to romantic love, no offense to Madonna. That first formative physical kind of love built of attraction and attachment. I'm talking about a journey to loving our true selves, loving others as they are, and loving the whole world as it is. The funny or amazing truth is that these 5 essential ingredients, or love vitamins, I like to call them, will support you no matter where you are on your journey to learning how to love, how to give and receive love. And they're all a form of vitamin A. They are attention, acceptance, appreciation, affection, and allowance. I didn't come up with them myself. David Rico did. I read from his book earlier. He's a psychotherapist, an author, and a Buddhist practitioner. And I'm grateful he came up with these 5 dimensions, essential aspects of love, because while reading his book, I remembered, because sometimes I forget, that needing love is a fact of life. It's a foundation. It's not a flaw or a failing or a weakness. I felt reassured to be reminded that we not only need love to survive, but that we all long to feel loved day in, day out. It's just we don't all know how to love yet. Most of us. We don't know how to love each other well, or even ourselves very well. It's an important distinction to make, the difference between needing love and knowing how to love, because the universalist in us knows we don't have to do anything to earn or deserve God's love. We're all included in God's love, which we say every Sunday at the 11:30 service in here, comes straight from the 19th century preachers, Hosea Ballou and John Murray and others like them, our patron saints of universalism. It's the gospel of good news of inclusion that got Bishop Carlton Pearson thrown out of our nation's top evangelical circles. There is no hell. We all come from the same place, and we're all going to the same place, regardless of whether we're sinners or saints. And anyway, the vast majority of us fall somewhere in between the two. But all of us being included in God's love doesn't mean we're automatically included in each other's love. So it's our responsibility to learn to love each other well. Some would say that having been loved first by God or by our parents, if we're fortunate enough to have parents who knew how to love us, or by the caregivers who ensured our survival if we weren't that lucky. In other words, having been loved first, we must now express and share that love with others. We're responsible to and for love. We're responsible, meaning our mission must be to respond to the love we've received as we're able. And the question is, but how? Rabbi Skye, a friend of mine, may he rest in peace, a beloved religious leader in Maine, once asked me this question. He said, well, now that you've been given all this love, Barbara, what are you going to do with it? And I stared at him. I had no idea how to answer the question. There was a long silence. After the silence had stretched out uncomfortably and long enough, he finally smiled at me and said, what you've been freely given, you are commanded to give to others. You must find ways to share your love with the world. The teaching has never left me. That was many years ago, but until recently, love was still an abstract idea, an ideal, as Marlon said, and not something I could easily define. And without being able to define what love is, I struggled in my commitment to show it and share it consistently. Which is why I'm sharing the 5 A's with you this morning to make giving and loving easier in your own lives. Because once we know what love is made of, we can commit wholeheartedly to giving and receiving it. Not only to others, but also to ourselves. Love is made of attention, acceptance, appreciation, affection, and allowance. So I also like these 5 A's of love because they correlate nicely with the answers I received from what I'm calling my love experts. People in our congregation that I interviewed this past week. Dave mentioned them in his announcements. Knowing that love is what we all want, but often don't know how to give or get, I decided to send 10 questions to 10 couples in the church. Each of the 10 couples has been married approximately 50 years or so, some more, a few less. They're all members of the congregation, and they all attributed their long-lasting love to being involved here at All Souls. I'm so glad you laughed. So I asked each of them, how did you fall in love? How long have you been married? What was the toughest time? What was the best time? Did you ever want to quit, walk away, get divorced? Do you think marriage still matters today? How did you get through the toughest times? Did having children make your relationship stronger or more challenging? What's love got to do with it? And what is love? So the following answers represent deep wisdom about love, mined from approximately 500 years of married life combined. Now, I can't tell you all the love stories because each one was unique. Some met when they were teenagers, others met in their late 20s. For some, it was an immediate attraction and a sense of comfort and being understood that led to marrying quickly. For others, it was several years of friendship, of breaking up and getting back together again that finally led to marriage. One person said, I really think this was a gradual process and you fall in love many times over the years. The longest marriage is 59 years long, and the shortest one in my informal survey is 38 years long. When I approached one of the couples last Sunday morning to ask if they would participate, at the mere mention of the word love, they immediately exclaimed, "Love? You think this is about love?" And then they, just like you, laughed and laughed, quickly agreeing to share their wisdom about this mystery we know is real, but we can't see, and we all know we can't live without. All of them, I must tell you, were very concerned that I not use their marriage as an example of a good relationship. They were very clear that they felt very lucky to still be together and still be experiencing love. Both partners in one couple called it a miracle, which won't surprise the others, as many seem to feel some divine influence was involved. Now, of course, not all of you here this morning are married or want to be married. Not all of you have or want to have children. So I want to disclose up front, everyone who responded to my questions also agreed that marriage doesn't automatically equal love. And that if you want love in your marriage, you're going to have to work at it. Probably harder than you ever would have imagined. One person put it this way: some people expect marriage to make you happy. I think the individual has to work on their own stuff and work to make that happiness part of the marriage. The toughest times answers had a lot in common, although again, each story was unique. Many people named the period when their children were young as a particularly stressful time. Often money being tight was part of a challenging time. 9 out of 10, I wonder about that one, wrote about needing to be forgiven and needing to offer forgiveness, not just once, but over and over and over again. What is it that Jesus said? Forgive 70 times 77 times? It was just 70 times 7, you guys. The best times answers had a lot in common as well. Paradoxically, but not surprisingly, children and money, the two things that cause a lot of stress, also bring the most pleasure. Money because it allowed people to travel and have new experiences together. Children because the rewards of caring for children almost always outweigh the demands. And when children were involved, people felt they were able to move past their own need to compete and win and outprove their partner, and instead admit their mistakes, ask for help, and put their egos and self-interest aside for the best interest of the children in their lives. To the question, have you considered getting a divorce? 9 out of 10, again, said, you bet. Yes, I thought about walking away. Only one couple said that divorce wasn't part of their vocabulary, and they acknowledged that they lived in different times. So why have these couples stuck together, several for going on 60 years? I'll be curious to hear what they think of my answer, which is that they stayed together because they were consistently committed to learning how to love. Of course, some of us leave our marriages for the very same reason. Because if a partner can't offer us the 5 essential A's, we may have to leave in order to learn to love and be loved. Because we all need, at every stage of life, adults who can offer us attention, acceptance, appreciation, affection, and allowance, in order to learn how to love ourselves, each other, and the world. The amazing thing, writes Rico, is that love from another adult does more than just satisfy us in the present. It ripples back in time for us, repairing, restoring, and renovating an inadequate past. An inadequate past that we all share. We get to the point where we can think, after years of practice, I would add, now I don't have to need so much. Now I don't have to blame my parents so much. Now I can receive love without craving more and more. I can have and be enough. Love gets more complicated as we grow up because immediate and complete satisfaction of our needs is only appropriate as infants, when love comes as naturally to us as breathing. And because none of us felt or were completely safe emotionally, physically, or spiritually as children, we developed defenses to protect ourselves from being disappointed or hurt again by love or its lack. And our hearts hardened to keep love out. But we want more than anything else, each and every one of us, to get and give love, to give and get the 5 A's, attention, acceptance, appreciation, affection, and allowance. We actually resist and refuse. Our defenses often sound something like this. You might have a few original twists. I just won't need what isn't there. I'm not good enough to be loved. I won't let anyone get too close to me. They might find out who I really am. I don't commit all the way, just in case. No one can love me as I really need to be loved. No one can really be trusted. Of course, we're raised on Hollywood, HBO, Netflix, and Showtime Anytime images of romantic love that reinforce both our desires for an earlier stage of love, based on physical attraction and attachment, and our fears of our love needs ever being met. But romantic love, all our interviewees agreed, even that one, is only the beginning of this journey toward learning how to love and be loved. In the words of a member, you have to know the relationship is going to be a major priority in your life. You have to learn to understand your own behavior and how it impacts your partner. You also have to learn to understand your partner and their assumptions and perspectives. It takes time, attention, and incredible patience. It takes time, attention, and incredible patience. We know our other needs change as we grow, and it's the same with love. The kind of love we're looking to get and to give changes, or at least it should. And I need to say, this is true for people who are single as well as people who are in committed relationships. Love is available and out there for each and every one of us. Recently, I was talking with one of our daughters. I have 2 daughters, about love. She was remembering her very first love, which was when she was about 6 years old. Do you remember that first love? It's hard to forget for most of us. When she saw him again recently, which she did, both of them now in their 20s, the two reminisced about the powerful feelings they had felt way back then. It was reassuring for both of them to hear that the love they shared at 6 was as significant to one as to the other, even if it was for different reasons. But they were both as aware as well that what they shared in 2nd grade was a different kind of love than the one they were each building in their current relationships with their young adult partners. As young adults, they were both learning to express their needs and their limitations, rather than living and loving in a children's world of playful, limitless imagination. Now, universalism is really the gold standard for babies and children. No baby or child should have to do anything special or behave any special way to receive unconditional love. Love is free and conditionless, or should be at the beginning of our lives, from God or from our caregivers. But that changes as adults. Adults with healthy egos do put conditions on their love relationships, and they don't stay when a relationship is abusive, disrespectful, or demeaning. It's the 5 A's that help us grow a healthy ego and become a person who can give and get love because we know how to establish clear boundaries and limits. So here's a little tutorial on the 5 A's. Attention from others leads to self-respect. Acceptance from others generates a sense of being an inherently good person. Appreciation generates a sense of self-worth. Affection makes us feel lovable. Allowing gives us the freedom to pursue our own deepest needs, values, and wishes. Practicing, offering, and receiving these 5 A's, and we do it right here in our congregation when we're together. Offering them to each other helps us become adults who respect ourselves, know our own goodness, trust in our own lovability, and feel free to explore and become who we really are. Only then can we really love each other. I didn't ask our couples how long it took them to feel like they were response-able adults in their relationships. But I know from their answers that they feel that the relationships are still helping them to grow, the test of real love. When asked, but what is marriage really about? One person wrote, I think it is one of the most powerful ways to grow as a person. In marriage, I have a constant situation of being taught humility, vulnerability, as well as stability, compassion, forgiveness, physical comfort, and sexual intimacy. Throw in kids, and it is an accelerated learning plan. We all want and need love. You could say we're all addicted to love because we can't live without it. When we can't give it or receive it for one reason or another, our hearts become constricted for lack of life-sustaining nourishment, like water. But as with our other fundamental needs like food, if we felt or feel deprived of it, we may binge on it in unhealthy ways, overstaying our welcome with friends or looking outside our committed relationships for pieces of the love puzzle we're so eager to feel. The remedy, or response then, our responsibility is to practice love daily, to practice the 5 A's, to practice giving and receiving love within clear and safe boundaries like this congregation so we can stay in better balance, finding fulfillment in all our relationships without putting too much of a burden on any one. The 5 A's begin as needs to be fulfilled by our parents, become needs to be fulfilled by our partners, and someday become gifts we give to others and to the world. Rico writes, Jesus and the Buddha are examples of beings who offer this 5-fold love to all of us. What's fascinating to me and to Marlon, because I shared this with him, is that all 10 couples, without exclusion, are involved with serving and loving the world beyond themselves and their families, as if, through lifetimes of practice, they've learned to transform their need for love into gifts of love. It's as if they all know intuitively, if not consciously, what one member wrote. Marriage still matters today. But it's no longer so tied to practical anchors like economic survival. And if it is to work, it has to be a spiritual journey. It's not for everyone. But my sense is that it's hard to make it without that kind of vision. It takes a lifetime to learn how to love and be loved. I'm confident all 10 couples would agree. Our spiritual task with this God of love that we strive to understand is to experience our oneness and our belonging in that love. But our psychological task is to accept our separateness and take responsibility for giving and receiving love. And you have what it takes now, the 5 A's. I think we should say them one time together so that you might remember. I need a lot of repetition to remember. So they are attention, acceptance, A student over here, appreciation, I think she has them written down, affection, and allowance. It's not too late. It doesn't matter if you're single or divorced or anything else. You're not too damaged. You do deserve to give and receive love. Everyone does. We're universalists. So let's follow the example of our elders, one of whom said it's always a growing, learning experience, even after 58 and a half years. So why wait? Let's get loving. Amen.
We are your church, and we are proud to be your church, or at least a church that's having a positive impact on your life. I am personally blessed to be your minister, or at least a minister who you're allowing to speak into your life. I hope you'll support our ministry and share your love beyond belief by texting LOVEBB to 41444 or go to our website. But you can just text LOVEBB to 41444 and make your gift. It's wonderful. Thank you. Be blessed and be a blessing.